Welcome, everyone, to the Better Love Movement podcast, where you will finally learn how to intentionally do dating and relationships right. My name is Anita Stoudemire, and I'm a licensed professional therapist and your personal love mentor. I've worked with thousands of singles and couples, giving them the skills needed to attract and keep the amazing love they desire. It's my heart's work to help people to get the skills needed to not only become the very best versions of themselves, but to help them grow and evolve emotionally and relationally. You can absolutely have the romantic relationship of your dreams. Come and let me show you how. Hey everybody, it's Anita with Better Love Movement, and so I am back again this week with episode number 85. It is entitled Dating Men to Disqualify Them. I am going to talk a little bit tonight about one of the tips I give to my ladies when they are dating so that they can keep themselves safe, so that they can protect their heart and guard their heart and get what they want. That's the main agenda here, is to get what it is they say they want and avoid what it is they say they don't want. So, dating to disqualify. What do I mean when I say that? So, if you have been following me for some time now, then you know about the self-discovery relationship tool. It is 3 very simple pieces of paper that I give to all of the ladies that I work with. And it really helps them to get clear on what it is they say they want, what it is they say they don't want, and what it is that they really need. So those are the 3 sheets. And when you are engaging with men, you are going to utilize that second sheet, what you say you don't want, to date to disqualify. So let's say you meet a very nice man on a dating app, or you meet someone in person and you all like each other. He engages you in a gentlemanly way, and maybe you all exchange numbers, you talk on the phone or you text, and you are wanting to go out. You're wanting to meet up face to face and actually go out and continue to get to know each other. Well, the first 3 dates that you go on, you are going to use that second list, the what I do not want. And you are dating to disqualify. If a man makes it past the dating to disqualify phase, then we can move on to the I need list. We can see if there are things on our I need list that this gentleman has that he can provide to us. But really, ladies, some of you all, you let men slip past the dating to disqualify phase. Like, you let him get out of that phase with a bunch of things on your I don't want list. And so you have really got to be paying attention. And here's the thing I want to say. So when I was in my 20s, for me, it was all about asking lots of questions. And if I could be so frank, I think the last relationship I was in, I spent maybe a whole year asking questions. Like, that's one of the things that I did, was just I asked a bunch of questions. And now I realize it isn't even so much about asking a lot of different questions. A lot of it is just really paying attention, listening more than talking, and feeling, really focusing on how you feel when you're with this man. And you are going to pay attention to things that would disqualify him. So feelings that you're having that just don't feel good, if you don't feel safe, if you don't feel respected or cherished when you're with him, if you don't feel just good in general. Like, if you have any odd or weird feelings when you're with a man, pay attention to that. That's trying to tell you something. And then just listen. Like, men, really, most men, they don't mind talking about themselves, and just listen, just pay attention and listen to what they're saying. Watch with your eyes what it is that they're doing, and really pay attention to all the little nuances that you should be aware of when you're out on a date with a man. But honestly, if I may be so honest, and because I was this woman for many, many years, Sometimes you're just so excited to be out on a date with someone that you find attractive or that you have any chemistry or connection with, that all your good senses just flows right out the window. Like you're not paying attention. And so we have got to regulate ourselves emotionally. We've got to keep our emotions in check, and we've got to date to disqualify up front. And when you are in an exclusive, committed relationship with this man, when things, feel great and you all are in a good place, the interest is mutual and you have this mutual exclusivity, sure, I want you to relax and just be in complete and utter joy with this man. But on the front end, it is very important that you date to disqualify, that you do your homework on the front end so that you can really enjoy the relationship on the back end. But many of us don't do that, myself included. I have thrown myself in head first, feet first, did not do my homework. I had all the romance and all the fun and all that stuff up front. And then on the back end realized, wow, this person isn't a good fit for me. There are a lot of things here that I really don't want in a long-term relationship. And so those relationships ended. I didn't do my homework. I didn't date to disqualify. I didn't just X out men really from the first 3 dates. There were many men that I dated should not have made it past 3 dates. That is the truth. There were things that happened in those first 3 dates that should have disqualified them. And instead, I kept going. I kept going forward. And dare I say it, whether we were physical together or just my feelings got involved. And then before you know it, I'm feeling some kind of way, but yet, to reject this person, to disqualify this person now, my feelings are involved. I'm probably not going to do that, even though there are a bunch of things there that I said I didn't want. So we've got to keep our head about us. Like we've got to use our logical mind in the beginning. We've got to make sure that this thing makes sense. Excuse me. We've got to make sure that this thing makes sense on the front end. And then we can really focus on the connection and the chemistry and all the feels, all the good stuff on the back end. But too many times we flip that. We are focused on our feelings, our chemistry, our connection with this person, sexual attraction, all of that stuff on the front end, that by the time we realize, wow, this relationship, it just doesn't make any sense. There's so many things here that just aren't going to work for me long term. There's things about this person that I don't want. And yet, I fell into this trap of, he looks good, he smells good, he's saying the right thing. Dating to disqualify will help you keep your head about you. It will keep your head firmly on your shoulders. And so you're going to use that initially. You're also going to feel out how you feel about this man, but it is for the purpose of disqualifying him. And I'm sorry to say, but there are only 3 things, that we can do when we're in this stage of trying to figure out if this person is for us or if we should get into a relationship with them. We can accept them, we can reject them, or we can tolerate them. And I really discourage you tolerating a person or their behaviors that you say you don't want, because over time, you're going to resent that person. So I encourage you to either accept or reject. And rejecting isn't a bad thing. Sometimes it's necessary. So here are some of the things that are on my don't want list that are pretty easy for me to disqualify man. These are the easy ones. I don't have to think about it. It doesn't matter what he says to me when I say, no, we're just not a good fit for each other. No, this doesn't have the potential to be something long-term. And that's really what I'm looking for. That's the language you're going to use if you have to reject. So you're going to be super sweet and kind, but you're going to be direct and assertive. And so some of those things for me include having very young children. That's easy for me because I'm about to be an empty nester and I really enjoy, I'm going to enjoy this time of not having kids in the house. And so I really don't want to be in a long-term relationship with a man who has a 2, a 3, a 5-year-old, a 7-year-old, because what that says to me is yes, if I'm going to be with this man, I'm going to accept the children that come along with him. And that means that these children will be in my home and, they'll be a part of my life. And I'm just not interested in going back to 2 or 3 or 5 or 7 years old. I'm in a good place, and I'm actually looking forward to the empty nesting. So that's easy for me to disqualify. Another thing is any addictions of any kind, any use of substances, illegal substances. That's easy for me to disqualify. It's easy for me to disqualify smokers. It is easy for me to disqualify men that I don't feel safe with. And ladies, really pay attention to this. It's that feeling that you get. It's that him being angry or passive aggressive, him getting angry that you were not available to take his call. Or if your plans have to change for any reason and he becomes very angry or passive aggressive, very hostile. He makes comments, or, anytime you have to tell a man no and you don't like the reaction that you get. Pay attention to how that feels to you. And you may have to disqualify if that doesn't feel good. If you don't feel safe, then you must disqualify this man. And I'm sorry, I will disqualify you based on one instance. I don't even need that to be a pattern, because when it comes to my safety, that is not something that I don't even want to give you 2 and 3 and 4 chances to scream, yell, curse, slap, hit me. No, it's the first time. The first time is enough for me. And if I just don't feel safe, if I feel any hostility or aggression, it's easy for me to disqualify a man like that. Let's see, what else is on my list? And I should have brought it in here. But any history of infidelity, any history of cheating or infidelity in past relationships. I do consider it a yellow flag when a man speaks disparagingly about his exes or the last ex. I don't necessarily consider that a complete disqualifier, but I definitely pay attention to that. And a new disqualifier that I've added here recently is if a man has been married multiple times and divorced multiple times. I am learning from hard experience to disqualify. That speaks volumes about that man, that there's something there on his end that needs to be addressed. And unless there's a lot of work done, if there's therapy done over that, if there are some hard realizations that man has come to about these multiple marriages and multiple divorces, perhaps that's something, it's a slim chance, but perhaps. But if a man has been married multiple times, divorced multiple times, there's a pretty good chance that it's him. It's something he's doing or not doing. It's something he's seeing or not seeing. There is a blind spot there, and he needs to address it. And unless he can tell you very directly what that blind spot is, do not engage. I know I wouldn't. But that's something I have had to learn recently. So that could be another way that you could disqualify someone. What else? I'm trying to think of some other things on my list. But for the most part, they are the things that are very egregious, the narcissistic type behavior, men who are, of course, I would disqualify a man who wanted me to pursue him, chase him, call him. If he showed any feminine energy type behavior, that would be an easy disqualifier. I don't even have to think about that. Any man who insists on me calling him and doing things for him and cooking and chasing him and that type of behavior, that's an easy one. It's easy for me to disqualify that in a man. It's easy for me to disqualify a man, actually, who does not love animals. Like, that's an easy disqualifier. I am an animal lover to my core, And if I get the impression that you don't like animals, you're annoyed by animals, yeah, it's easy for me to say no thank you to that. If you don't like children, if you don't enjoy children, or now my children are teenagers, but if all of that annoys you, it's easy to disqualify you. So ladies, really pay attention to your don't want list, right? You don't want a man who hates animals, or you don't want a man who is annoyed by children. You don't want a man who is addicted in any way. You don't want a man who smokes. You don't want a man who is hostile or aggressive, or who would be physically aggressive or verbally aggressive. You don't want a man who is not masculine to his core. You don't want a man who wants you to pursue him. So really pay attention to your don't want list. And, I'm not much for sarcasm. I'm not much for the passive aggressive. So those are other things that are on my list that just don't interest me. And when a man has a very sharp, cutting, sarcastic wit, I don't enjoy that. So it's easy for me to disqualify. Those are not things that I would enjoy long term. I don't want a man who is financially irresponsible. And that might take a little more time to determine that. But once I do, and I realize, wow, you struggle with being financially responsible, whether that looks like he doesn't pay child support for his children, whether that looks like he doesn't file his taxes, he doesn't pay his bills on time, whether that looks like, he takes out all these loans, because he can't pay his credit card bills, whatever that looks like. I don't want a man who is financially irresponsible. And so, again, these are easy things for me to disqualify. And some of these things I may find out on the first date or the second date or the third date. If it goes beyond a third date, keep listening, keep watching, because some people have had to go a little longer and then disqualify. I've dated a man 2 months and I wound up having to disqualify him. And we had been out on more than 3 dates, but some things came out that I was like, no, this isn't a good fit for me. And I'm really looking for something long term. I'm really looking for, marriage long term. And this behavior would not work for me in that type of relationship. Like, we're just not a good fit for each other. That is the way you're going to disqualify. You're going to be kind about it, but you're going to be very direct. So don't shy away from that. Learn how to use the feminine communication skills. Feminine communication is respectful. It is assertive. It is direct, but it is kind. It is sweet. It is not aggressive or brash or, vulgar. It is not that, but it is very direct and assertive and sweet. Tone is everything. So you're going to use a good, sweet tone, but you're going to be very direct in, your messaging, which is, we're just not a good fit for each other. I'm looking for something long term. And some of these things, they just wouldn't work for me over time. They just wouldn't work for me long term. That's how you're going to say it. But do not be afraid. Ladies, you're in the driver's seat. When it comes to your love life and your relationship and your dating life, you're in the driver's seat. It's about you. It's about having what you want, not having what you don't want, and getting what you need. So you have to be direct and assertive, and you must date to disqualify, to make sure that you don't end up with someone with behaviors that you don't want. Because then later on down the line, you are going to be saying to yourself, man, I saw these yellow flags, red flags. I accepted things, or I tolerated things that I really didn't want for whatever reason. Become confident, become assured of yourself, like really get your self-esteem high so that you're not settling for things you don't want. And remember, I talked about this. You will not get everything you want. You will settle on what you want. That's a fact. You will settle on what you want and what you need. You won't even get 100% of everything you need. Your partner is not meant to provide you with everything that you need. That is not realistic. And you definitely won't get everything you want. But what I don't want you to settle on is what you don't want. Do not accept things on your don't want list. If you do not want them, then you're done. That's it. You just disqualify and you keep it moving. You keep it moving, and you do so in the sweetest of ways. Just, no, we're just not a good fit for each other. That is the list that I do not want you to settle on. So the things that I have written on my don't want list, I need to not get 100% of them in order for me to find out if this person can meet some of my needs, and then do they have some of what I want. And the wants are kind of the fun stuff. You're not going to get everything on the want list. Really think carefully about what you put on the need list. That's a little more important. And be even more careful about what you put on the don't want list. Okay, because that's the list you're not going to settle on. Okay, but yes, if you have a question for me for the show that you would like for me to answer, I love receiving your emails. I love receiving your questions. I usually answer questions on my Instagram Live, but I can also do a podcast episode about it. So please send me an email, and I would love to answer your questions on the show. If you are watching the podcast right now on YouTube, please, please, please do me the biggest favor and subscribe to the channel. Give this video a big thumbs up and share it with anyone you think would be interested in the topic today. And also, I want to talk to you a little bit more about the codependency recovery coaching call. This call continues throughout the month of July. It is every Wednesday evening at 8 and every Sunday evening at 8:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The link will be below. And so please join us if you are struggling with codependency. Lots of people are. It's a thing. Lots of people struggle with codependent traits. And so join us on the call. Learn all about it. Every week we dive deeper and deeper. I give you homework after each call, and we are getting free. We are getting free of codependency. You're going to learn lots of great tools on how to set healthy boundaries and how to become free of codependency. So thank you so much for listening. And as always, stay open to love. Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. If you are enjoying this podcast, please leave me a 5-star rating and review. Your ratings and reviews help me to continue to bring you more great content. Head on over to YouTube and check out the Better Love Movement channel. There's more video content there, and you can subscribe to be notified when a new video is posted. If you have a question that you would like to have answered on the podcast or in a YouTube video, please send it to me at info@betterlovemovement.com. You can also connect with me directly on the Magnify app to have your dating and relationship questions answered. That's MAGNIFI, and it's available on iOS and Android. You get your first 5 minutes for free. So give me a call and let's chat.